we are going to now get into our AFC North team by team breakdown, kicking it off with the AFC champion, Cincinnati Bengals. And Aaron, start you off with this one here, buddy. Who has the better ADP value, Jamar Chase or Tee Higgins?
Oh, what's the ADP? You're not even going to give me the number?
Come on, kid.
What kind of producer is this?
I mean, I figured you did your research. You literally, I already know all my shit. They're ADP.
I mean, you're asking me the
wide receiver. Jamar Chase is the wide receiver 3 going in the first round, and Tee Higgins is going in the third round at the wide receiver 12 at pick 33.
Oh man. Wide receiver 12?
Yep.
You know what? Like this might surprise a lot of people. Because I was on the hey, slow down on Jamar Chase bandwagon, but I think it's Jamar Chase. And the reason I say that is because I do think Tee Higgins' upside is capped a bit by the want to get Jamar Chase the football, the electric ability to make big plays. There might be more games where Tee Higgins is consistent, 6 catches, 80 yards, 7 catches, 85 yards. But those games where Jamar Chase goes, 15 catches or whatever, 6 catches, 200 yards and 3 touchdowns, it's going to be too many. And I think that Jamar Chase at 3 is going to give you that. It might be frustrating at times. It's going to be the Mike Evans every once in a while where he has a game, 2 catches for 15 yards and you're like, what happened? But overall, I think over the course of a season, I think Jamar Chase at the wide receiver 3 position is just much better value than what you're going to get from Tee Higgins. After 2 good seasons, I equate Tee Higgins very much to like Terry McLaurin. I think his upside is capped, but he's pretty consistent. But when you look at the end of the season, you're like, he finished wide receiver 24. Like, it's not great, but you feel like he had a great year. And I think his name value is more trade worthy than what you're actually going to get in return. So if you have Tee Higgins, think about maybe moving off of him if you can get some good players. It's just my opinion.
I love that take, Aaron. I really do. I think Jamar Chase, the guy's the early first rounder. With what you guys laughing at?
The way you said it.
I love that take, Aaron. I really do. That's a great take, man. I love that take.
It really was. Yeah, I mean, honestly, you can't get screwed with Chase. I know he's a first round pick, right? That's the one you want off the board. That's your wide receiver. You take him. Sure, he's going to have a few bad weeks, but I mean, the guy is legit a number 1 wide receiver on your team. Your your first overall pick, first round pick. That's he's not going to screw you. You take Higgins in the 3rd. It's a little spicy, little caliente for me. But I think he's got to fall down a little bit. I think you could get screwed with Higgins. You can't get screwed with Chase.
I agree. He's a big play machine, and I don't think Aaron, I think you brought it up. There are times where you might be a little frustrated with Jamar Chase, but his talent and his ceiling, you're going to more than likely get that return on that investment. Although he is going ahead of guys like Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill. Are you okay with
that's
that?
Wrong.
Aaron?
No, that is wrong. That's blasphemy. Jamar Chase is great, and the wide receiver 3 is too high for me. I'm not saying that I would take him there, but the value for there versus what Tee Higgins is okay to me. But when you're drafting a guy like that over Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams, I don't agree with that. Remember, he finished as I believe wide receiver 5 last year, and a lot of that was the one game against Kansas City, 12 catches, 200-something yards, 3 touchdowns. That put him from probably wide receiver 11, wide receiver 9, 10, 11, all the way up to wide receiver 5. So, again, the big games are going to be there. But if you're looking for somebody that's consistently great and then also can give you big games, that's Stephon Diggs usually. That's Devontae Adams. I'm not taking my chances just yet in drafting Jamar Chase over those guys. But if you had to ask me again, value-wise, is it Higgins in the 3rd or is it Chase in the 1st? I'm probably taking Chase.
Guys, I want to bring up a point here about Jamar Chase. Now, this don't compare football players, okay? We're comparing fantasy football players here. So don't say, oh, you're an idiot, you're stupid, you're terrible.
Well,
Jamar Chase, you know who he reminds me of, at least through 1 year? Fantasy-wise, he's like Tyreek Hill, and he's like Calvin Johnson, where he'll give you that big game, and he'll have a few thumpers. He'll get a 7. He'll like in a PPR format, but that's the kind of fantasy player you're getting here. He's gonna put up those monster games that win you weeks just out of the blue, and I think that's how his career is gonna end up as a fantasy football player.
Yeah, he's not a high volume guy. That's really what it boils down to. I think he only had like 3 or 4 games where he had 7 catches, and that's a lot of catches, but there are just guys that do that more often. He's a 3 catch, 4 catch, 5 catch guy that produces big yardage because he has big plays and then explodes for touchdowns in games. And I don't want to take anything away from him. That's the kind of player that can explode on a fantasy week and help you win. But if you're looking for that consistent Cooper Kupp type numbers, 8 or 9 catches, and then maybe he gets a touchdown, now it's elite, you're probably not going to get that with Chase. So that's why I don't have him in my top 3 at the wide receiver position. But if you take him in the first round, I'm not mad at you.
Last question on the Cincinnati Bengals. AJ, this is to you. How will the offensive line improvements affect the fantasy stock of players like Joe Mixon and Joe Burrow this season? Obviously, we saw them reload that offensive line. It was a big problem last season. This coming season might not be the same problem. How does it affect Burrow and Mixon?
I mean, I know a lot of people are going to enjoy the Mixon train a lot more this season as well. And you were very happy with them last year. I mean, they ran the ball about 45% of the time last season, and Joe Mixon was still able to be productive enough with it. Only 3 games over 100 yards. I think that's going to happen at least another 3 times this season. With that offensive line, that push that they're getting some pros up there. I think that Mixon is going to have another breakout year. I think you can look at him in that 1,300 yard area, maybe even more in a pace to do that. So with Joe Burrow, I mean, I wasn't able to look at the numbers and everything, but just think about the amount of games he had where he was sacked 9 times or something of that nature. And imagine if he could get that pass off even 6 of those times. You know, you're adding a substantial amount of potential points with him there. So this line is obviously going to help the offense. That's a non-starter.
I think with this offensive line, like we talked about Joe Burrow earlier on in the show about comparing him to Lamar Jackson, not necessarily comparing him, but seeing which fantasy value, which player is going to be better in fantasy. And I do think that offensive line is going to help out immensely when it comes to Joe Burrow. Like you said, AJ, getting off those passes a little bit sooner. Aaron, you're kind of smirking over there. What are you thinking over there?
I think we're mixing football and fantasy. I don't think it's going to change either one of their fantasy output. Like, I don't think Joe Burrow was quarterback 7 last year. I mean, Joe Mixon was the top back last year. I don't think that changes. On the field, it's going to look better, right? There's going to be more time for Joe Burrow to throw. But I think in the end, when you look at the end of the season, you're not saying, oh, my goodness, man, the offensive line helped him so much that Mixon went from running back 4 or running back 5 or 6 to running back 2, or Joe Burrow went from quarterback 7 to quarterback 2. Like, I don't think that's going to happen. So yes, it'll look cleaner. They'll be protected. There might be a little bit more holes, but I think in the end, where they're drafted, where they finish, are going to end up being very similar to what they were last year, because they both had really good years last year.
Yeah.
Maybe Joe Burrow moves up a spot or 2. Like, I can see Joe Burrow getting into quarterback 5 or 6. I'm trying to think off my head.
You can't see Joe Mixon being a top 2 running back this season?
Top 2? No way.
No
way.
2?
Boy, you lost your mind, because I'll help you find it.
I mean, they have him on pace for 1,600 yards and 12 touchdowns as of right now.
Who's
they? That's what they're
Who
projecting.
the hell is they? Who the hell is they?
Who they say gonna beat the Bengals?
I would go with media pundits. Those
who
are
the hell
articles and paces that I'm seeing. I've seen that on Sports Illustrated. I've seen that.
The man had his best year last year, and I'm a Joe Mixon. I love Joe Mixon.
Mm-hmm.
Man had his best year and had 1,200 yards, and they going now all of a sudden jump him up 400 more and say it's 1,600 yards. That's a stretch.
It is a stretch. It's a pace.
It's
got to adjust over and over again for sure.
He's going into his 6th year in the league. He's had over 1,000 carries on his body. I don't think Joe Mixon is going to all of a sudden have some breakout 1,800 yard season. Number one, I think they're going to rely too much on the arm of Joe Burrow to even give him that many carries. 292 last year, averaged 4 yards a carry, and ran for 1,200 yards. Was he going to average 6 yards a carry this year? I mean, I don't know what more you want from him that's going to put him in the top 2 when you got guys like Jonathan Taylor who get the ball 1,000 times, when you get guys like Christian McCaffrey come back healthy, Najee Harris who touches the ball a lot, Austin Eckler who's a dual threat extraordinaire. Like those guys to me, Alvin Kamara are guys that can finish top 2, 3, 4, and 5. Like Joe Mixon at his best is going to get up into the top 3, 4, 5. And that even then that's a stretch for me. So he'll have a good year. No doubt about it. But I mean, he's being drafted as running back 7, I believe, right now. There's a reason.
And what did he finish as last year?
I
thought you had it. Okay. I thought you saw it.
No. I didn't look.
Sure.
I have what?
Last
Obviously.
year, Joe Mixon
And we're
finished
talking about
running
an
back
improvement,
6.
so clearly.
Running back
He was
6,
probably-
Joe Mixon.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, he could get to the top 5. I wouldn't knock the top 5. But again, for him to have an offensive line that's now fixed to then jump from 6 all the way to 2 or 1, I just don't see that happening. Not saying don't draft him, because I would definitely draft him at his current ADP. I think that's a perfectly good spot for him.
Number 2 is
I like
just
Joe.
asinine.
Yeah,
It's not asinine.
that
It is
I
asinine.
do remember there were some people on this panel last year when I was talking about Joe Mixon that were like, well,
Sorry,
you got to show me.
the reason why I kept going like because I wanted to correct myself because I knew that this was a wrong stat. Joe Mixon finishes the RB4 in PPR leagues.
I
last
thought it
year
was 5.
as the RB4.
Yeah, 4.
So that
Checks
I don't
out.
want to be wrong about
And-
these things. I don't want to look like an asshole, which normally I do, but I digress.